we get the great privilege of touching the lives of 100,000 leaders every month, month in and month out. And as a result of that, we see some big patterns. And the biggest pattern we see, when you hear it, it'll sound very simple, but some things are simple and profound. Some things are simple, but they go deep. So one of our biggest findings in all of this research is this: leadership changes everything. Everything. There isn't an innovation, a customer, a partner, a breakthrough, an ROI, a stock price change. There isn't any of that without leadership animating it. And too often in business, we start to mistake what's the effect and what's the cause. Leadership's the cause. Human energy is the cause. And sometimes we get all caught up in the effects. We have to produce the effects. We have to produce all of these things. But sometimes we don't think about the cause. We don't think about how we have to be the change that we want to see in our team. We have to embody the partnering that we want internally and externally. We have to be it first. So we think that maybe the most important thing is ROI supported by ROL, return on leadership. And sometimes we get the cause and effect a bit upside down. So if leadership changes everything, what changes leadership? If leadership is a causal thing that produces effects, what changes leadership itself? We think there's some meta competencies. Now, in our research, we used to have 67 competencies we'd measure in leaders around the world, and now we've honed that a bit, and we know there's at least 38 research-based competencies. Not all leaders have them. In fact, we've never seen a leader who has all of them. We each have a unique pattern. Maybe a team can have all of them, but we haven't seen one leader. But what are the meta competencies? What are the essential fundamental things that if we attend to in our own leadership or with our team will produce huge effects? One thing is self-awareness. 20 years ago, self-awareness used to be this nice kind of squishy thing of understanding ourselves, and that'll help us be more effective. But now we know the research supports it. We've even done research on 7,000 public companies to show that the companies who have leaders with the most blind spots, the lower self-awareness, have poorer financial performance. And the organizations where leaders are more self-aware, they understand their strengths and development areas, maybe a little bit ahead of everyone around them, they produce better financial results. So it's not a nice thing. It's a real, tangible, causal factor to produce value. The second thing is you've heard about emotional intelligence. Now, many people hear the word and you immediately think this kind of soft, squishy, touchy-feely thing. Well, emotional intelligence is actually very pragmatic, and it's very simple. We're aware of ourselves and our strengths and liabilities and weaknesses. We're aware of ourselves. We're aware of others and what their needs and motivations are and strengths and weaknesses. And we moderate that gap between who we are and how to connect and serve value with others. This is fundamental when you talk about partnership. You can't have partnership without self-awareness and awareness of others and how to bridge that gap. So these two are fundamental to changing leadership. The third thing we've seen from a research basis, and not just our research, but also research at Yale, Center for Creative Leadership, and other groups, is that learning agility is a better predictor of potential than raw IQ. Now, you are in a big IQ business, no doubt. But what will differentiate people with high IQ is how learning agile are they? How agile are they mentally? How agile are they with people? How agile are they and resourceful with results? How agile and resilient are they with change? So learning agility is fundamental. And you know you have a learning agile leader when you give them something they are not prepared for. When you give them something they are not prepared for and they exceed your expectation. Those are the leaders you need to find, you need to invest in, and you need to stretch, because they'll make it work. So this is another thing to find and foster in people. The fourth dimension we know from a research basis is courage. Courage. We've done research across all 5 industry sectors, including technology, and we went in with the hypothesis or the question, are there any competencies that are common to all different industries? We didn't know. Maybe there wouldn't be any. But we found there was one: courage. Courage was fundamental regardless of the situation. Because as leaders, we have to go beyond what is. And that's an act of courage. Managers improve what is. Managers enhance what is. Managers move forward what is. But leaders go beyond what is. And at that moment we're going to go beyond, we don't know if we're going to get there. We don't know for sure are others coming along. We don't know for sure if we fail, are we going to be okay? Because if we knew, it would just be another step of management. At the moment of real leadership and real innovation, we don't know. So it takes our courage and character to bridge us from what we know to what we don't know. So courage is fundamental that we need to find and foster in people. The next is enterprise thinking. There are 2 career moves, well actually 3 career moves, that are the toughest career areas to develop from one stage to the next. One is individual contributor to manager. That's a tough move. The second one is moving into real enterprise leadership, and the third is CEO leadership. But enterprise thinking and behaving is one of the toughest things, because we come up in a geography, we come up in a specialty, we come up in a function, we gain all this expertise, we start to feel comfortable and competent there. But then enterprise thinkers and leaders have to think across geographies, have to think across functions, have to think across resources, and not just think across, behave and collaborate across, when maybe it's no longer in our self-interest and career progression, but it's the right thing for the enterprise. So that's a big move. The next one is collaborative innovation. There's an amazing book out now, if you're interested in innovation, which is, core to everything that you do. There's a great book by a historian who specializes in innovation. There's very few. His name is Stephen Johnson. He wrote a book called How We Got to Now, and it's brilliant. And it's brilliant and entertaining and turns your head around. And he makes the case, the historical case, that all innovation is collaboration. all of it. It may get attached to the great inventor, but if you really study it, it's all innovation. In fact, he gives so many examples. One is Edison. When you hear, who discovered the light bulb? Everyone goes Edison. Well, the real story of Edison is he bought 40 patents around the world, set up the first GE lab, which was totally collaborative. They synthesized all of that and then discovered the light bulb. So collaboration is the reconciliation of all these different points of view into a new gestalt. So innovation is collaboration. And then the last point, which is the most counterintuitive, is that to accelerate, we first have to pause. It's counterintuitive. Because accelerate where? Why? How? In what direction? A great athlete can accelerate, but they have to maybe take a step back to accelerate in the optimal direction. We also know in our research that the biggest breakthroughs happen with some kind of pause through. It's counterintuitive, but its strategy is a pause to step forward in a new and different way. This offsite is a pause to go accelerate. 360 feedback is a pause to decide how to step forward in a new and different ways. So it's counterintuitive, but pause allows us to accelerate to the important and to the new and the different.